Welcome to Devils in Red 59. My name is Steve, and today we have clinched the 3 points against Crystal Palace by beating them 2-1. Having said that, I think it was quite a poor performance by Manchester United today. Obviously, once we got awarded the penalty and scored from that, I think things picked up a bit, and that was probably our best period of the game from the penalty onwards. But Luke Shaw, I mean, I don't think he had a good game at all. I mean, to me, when we thought he had that injury and he went down and the medics came onto the field, he just looked like he didn't want to get up. He was huffing and puffing. He looked like he was fatigued, and obviously they then took him off and brought Mazraoui on, which after a few minutes of Mazraoui being on, I think he linked up on that left-hand side quite a bit better with Cunha than what Shaw was doing. And it sort of brought Cunha into the game a lot more as well, whereas he wasn't before. So, I think that was a good sub um, to replace Shaw in that respect. Dallo, I, I can't remember in the first half him um, doing a good pass. I think all of his forward passing in the first half was horrific. You know, 9 times out of 10, it went to a Crystal Palace player, or it went into open field where nobody had got it, and there'd be a bit of a scramble for it. But I thought Dallo was very, very poor in the first half. Um, it wasn't too bad when Crystal Palace was coming forward, but when we was in control of the ball, possession of the ball, the amount of times he'd give it away, it wasn't good. And obviously, Bruno, I don't think he had particularly a good game until the situation where we had the penalty. It was a good foresight to Bruno's to see Cunha making the run and put him through. And obviously, we all know what happened. Cunha was brought down in the box, and we was awarded the penalty. But up to that period of time, I think it was very, very poor. Casemiro, I think he had a pretty good game. He was up and down the field along with Maguire. They both seemed to have a good game. Mainu again in the first half, I thought was very, very quiet. Not his normal self. And if you look at the last three games, Crystal Palace, Everton, and West Ham, they none of the players seem to have had the spark about them that they've had in games previous to that, like the Man City and the Arsenal and the Fulham and so forth. So whether this is now starting to affect them, this one game a week, and they're getting additional time off from training. In the outset, it seemed to be a good thing, but you have to ask yourself a question: is it a good thing by them having additional time off when they're only playing that one game a week? Is it causing them to lose some of that sharpness? Um, but obviously, as I say, Luke Shaw, when he went down, and then Harry Maguire was subbed sometime into the start of the second half, and it came out from Michael Carrick after the match had finished that they wasn't injury concerns. Apparently, Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw was feeling unwell. So whether they've had something to eat in the previous 24 hours and that's what was affecting them, I don't know. But it's good news to hear that they're not injuries, because obviously those two type of players. I mean, even though Luke Shaw's played every game since the season started, and he's had ups and downs, he is quite consistent, and he pull off a few good things occasionally within the games. And it looks like we're going to need the likes of him and Harry Maguire to the end of the season. I think it's a case of making do with what we've got, and the lads do seem to be battling out results. I mean, 3 points today, 3 points against Everton, and a point against West Ham, which we could have realistically lost. So 7 points out of the last nine. I think everybody's quite happy with that, but it's just the performance side of the game. I don't feel that it's where it should be to say we're in the top four. So there we are with them. Sesko, I think he had a pretty quiet first half, but again, I don't think he was getting much service up front. Um, the start of the second half, we seemed to be going forward a little bit more and getting a bit more through to him. And of course, after the penalty, as I say, that was probably the best period of our game after the penalty. You know, when for creating chances and getting the ball in the box for Sesko, he had a few chances on with his head, etc. And then obviously Sesko got bought off after he scored his goal and replaced by Ahmad. And again, I think when Ahmad come on, you know, we were going forward a lot more, especially on that right side, and there were more chances going in. So again, I think it was wise to bring Sesko off, as that was his first sort of 70 minutes straight off in a game for a few weeks. So I don't think that would have done him any harm, and it would have probably done Ahmad a little bit of a boost just to, you know, not start him for a change and bring him on with 20 minutes to go. So you know, the main thing is we've got that 3 points. We've now gone to third in the league on goal difference above Aston Villa. We all know that Liverpool ground out a result yesterday, so they remain 3 points at the back of us in fifth. And I've just been watching the Arsenal and Chelsea game. That was quite interesting. Obviously, Arsenal went ahead quite early, and then Chelsea managed to get an equaliser back. And then Chelsea went down to 10 men. Neto got red carded and sent off. So, you know, it was good that Arsenal done us a bit of a favour and got their 3 points, because it's now put 6 points between us and Chelsea, which are still in sixth. But obviously, it's opened up that gap a bit. And Wednesday, we've got Newcastle at Newcastle. I think that's going to be a different game again. But it does seem with Manchester United all through the season that when we play the lower sides, we seem to struggle to get a result out of it, and then obviously we play the bigger sides and we seem to get a decent result and play decent through it. So whether that'll be the case with Newcastle, but either way, you know, I know Newcastle are not where you would expect them to be in the league this season, but I think with them having championship football 2 games a week, and I think they've had one or two injuries as well. So obviously, I think that's having an impact on them. And obviously, if we qualify for the Champions League, which it looks like we're going to with only 10 games to go, that is something we have got to consider for next season. We're playing 2 games and the squad we got. So obviously, we've got to look at who's going out, who's coming in, and are we going to have a big enough squad to play them 2 games a week? And hopefully, the answer to that will be yes. And we won't be doing well in just the Champions League, that we can maintain, you know, a good level in the Premiership. Whereas, obviously, as we say, the likes of Newcastle and Tottenham and that have been in the Champions League this year, they've both fell off in the league again. I mean, Tottenham have lost again today, so obviously they're within a couple of points of relegation, and they will be fighting relegation. Newcastle aren't quite that bad off, like, you know, but they are in the bottom half of the table. So you know, they're not playing the best football in the league at the moment, at least. So perhaps that will hold us in good stead for Wednesday when we go to Newcastle, that we can try and do something there and get 3 points there. But obviously, you know, the last thing we want is to lose. I mean, a draw wouldn't be a bad result at Newcastle, to be fair. But you've always got to go in mind and say, well, we've got to try and get the 3 points. But you know, if you don't, you know, you at least want that 1 point for the draw. You know, it doesn't do you so much damage. So yeah, all in all, things are pretty good. I don't think the Premiership this year has been what people would have thought it would have been, with the money that was spent mainly with the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool and Chelsea and so forth. You know, I mean, there's teams all over the place, teams that you would expect to be challenging for Europe again. They're down in the bottom half of the table, and teams that you would expect to be doing not so well, and that, you know, I mean, it's just a funny league this year. I mean, Arsenal, Liverpool. I mean, I don't think they've played that good of football this season, if I'm honest. You know, they've ground out results. Certainly, Arsenal and Man City have ground out results, but it hasn't always been attractive football. Liverpool, you know, they're not where you'd expect them to be. I mean, you'd expect them to be in the top 2 or 3 and challenging, but again, you know, for the money they've spent, it's not attractive football at all. But you know, you look at some of the lower league sides, you know, like Fulham and so forth, and I think clubs like that have been quite consistent throughout the season, and they've played quite attractive football. So you know, it's just a strange one all round. But as long as we qualify in that top 4, which I think we will do, that's going to be the main thing. And then the onus will all be on us in the summer to make enough changes that, you know, we consistently in the top 4. Probably a couple of years' time, maybe challenging for the Premiership title, which would be nice. But obviously, there's going to be players that's going to be going, new players that's coming in, and I'm sure from after the international break in March, a lot more of that will become clearer as to who we're after, because I do believe clubs will be trying to do early business prior to the end of the season, before players go off to the World Cups. They're not going to be wanting bringing, you know, people back from the World Cups and then still talking about signing them or selling them and so forth. I think they'll want it done and dusted. And certainly from Man United's point of view, you know, I mean, we're renowned for dragging our reels on a lot of deals. So, you know, it'd be nice to see them, certainly through April and May, doing something and putting things in place for the early part of June, so that we can sign players before they go off and say, well, at least we've got 3 or 4 in the bag, and the others will have to come, you know, after the World Cup, you know. So yeah, uh, good result today. Not necessarily a good performance, but we've got the 3 points. You've got to keep supporting the lads and driving them on. So what I aim to do now is obviously do another video on Thursday of this week. But I'd like to thank everybody that has looked at the previous videos. As I say, I am trying to build a community. It is all very new to me, and I hope that, you know, as each one I do, I'll get a little bit better. So smash a like, get in the comments, and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to share the video, because all that helps. So thank you very much to everybody. Stay safe, and I'll speak to you on the next one.